Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Q&A from Dust. This is my second take at this because it is actually pretty difficult to get all these questions that you guys asked fitting into a reasonable size video length. So I'm going to try again, going to try to cut myself short, and blah blah blah. If there are any kind of game mechanics that you are interested in this game, they explain everything in little dialogue boxes. You can pause, read it, whatever. I want to spend the bulk of my time answering your questions. I didn't get too many questions, but I went way over explaining things. So, first question, get right to it. My good friend Rock Paper Mario asks this great question to start out on. He says, did you happen to see a black car on the day the snow turned to rain? And my answer to you is, no, real. I didn't see a black car on that day. Or I would alternatively say, I'm a man with a tattoo, and I say, man, I will mess you up. If any other people don't know what I'm talking about, just type in Let's Play Shenmue to Rock Paper Mario. Just do it and enjoy, because that's... Tell him I sent you. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Because he's going to be watching this. Alright. Thank you for your question, Harry. Next question is Shiny Joshua, excuse me, Shiny Joshua. And he asks, what inspired you to start, so what inspired you to start Let's Playing, and do you have any advice for how to start? I was inspired to start Let's Playing by, well, pretty much by NCS. I realized that Let's Plays were not exactly video game walkthroughs where you need to know everything about the video game to play it. They could be several different styles. His was a vloggy kind of style, and I really liked that. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do that. I want to share my love of playing games with other people and meet people who love games as well. That's what I did, and NCS, man, you did quite a bit in inspiring me to start Let's Playing, so thank you so much if you're watching this. And do I have any advice on how to start? Yes, I do! There's a few questions about LP advice, so I'm gonna kind of split it up. I guess I could say that don't invest a super whole lot of money in the very beginning, because how do you know if you're gonna like it if you haven't done it yet? Seriously, just try it. You gotta go in knowing that this is gonna be one freaking time-consuming, heavily invested hobby. I mean, most LPers, they try to put out a video every single day. It's a lot of recording, a lot of, well, depending on your style, a lot of editing, a lot of rendering, a lot of uploading, so it's a lot of upkeep, and it is a humongously demanding hobby. Just go into the hobby understanding that. And again, you don't want to start out a brand new hobby and go out and buy a $200 Hauppauge HDB VR, and then 2 weeks later be like, this is stupid, I don't want to do this. So start out small. Me starting, I pretty much started out for free. I downloaded an emulator and a ROM of Chrono Trigger, excuse me, and I used my poopy poop microphone on my laptop to start out. Quality of the LP, the video quality, at least, was pretty poop. But it's the commentary and letting your personality kind of show through that really made it kind of a gem of an LP, in my opinion. Even though it's my very first project, I really liked Chrono Trigger, how it turned out. So, yes, that's my advice. Don't go all out. Once you realize you really like this LP, then maybe spring for a capture card or whatever. So yeah, that is a little bit of advice for starting LP. Thank you so much, Shiny Joshua, for your question. Second question by Nelson251993. He asks, it's kind of similar to Shiny Joshua's question. LPers sometimes talk about their recording and talk about an emulator or a capture card. What are they and how do you get one? Emulators, I'll tell you the difference. Emulators are basically, you can play console, quote-unquote console games, and handheld games on your computer. Basically, you have the console downloaded to your computer, and then you download the games which are called ROMs, and you play the game on your computer. It's a little bit not legal, so I'm not gonna put specific links to where I get my ROMs and emulators, but you can Google that stuff, and it's easy. You can Google how to do it, whatever. So that's an emulator. A capture card. They have several different kinds. A Dazzle, a more expensive one is a Pog, but they have other less expensive ones. I just use the Dazzle. Basically what that does is that records your actual gameplay from your actual console. You are playing the game, watching it on your television screen. It is splitting the signal to going to your television and then to your computer, and then your computer is recording it. So you're literally recording what you're playing on your console. So yeah, I got my Dazzle at Best Buy for like $50, and then a couple years later, I bought my Hauppauge H2 KVR at Best Buy for like $180, but I got a discount because Devin works at Best Buy, so she got me a discount. Anyway, that's my spiel on emulators and capture cards. If you have any other questions, I will answer them in the comments, I suppose, but it's nothing you can't Google, so yeah, that's the difference. Alright, thank you for your question. Next is Blue Bomber IMO, and he says, what is this? And I say, this is Let's Q&A from Dust. That's all I got. I can't really think of anything witty right now. I love you. I'm making one of those hand hearts at you. You know the kind. I'm making one of those. Anyway. Thank you, Blue Bomber IMO, for your question. You're very much appreciated. Next is Cody L, and he asks, what is your favorite LP that you've done? Likewise, what is your favorite game you've LP'd? My favorite my favorite LP that I've ever done, because I can see how those two questions can be different. My favorite LP that I've done is Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem. Why? Because I am a channel that does blind LPs. I don't know anything, and you guys know everything about this game, and that's just kind of how it is. But in this experience, not very many people knew about Eternal Darkness. But I knew about Eternal Darkness, and I was sharing something that you guys didn't know with you. So it was like the opposite of what I usually do, and it was awesome, and I love Eternal Darkness. It doesn't hurt the fact that that's a fantastic game. Also, when the spiritual successor comes out, I'm totally gonna do an LP of it just like okay. So yeah, that one's totally my favorite. If you haven't seen it, totally go watch it. I'm not just saying that to be like, man, I want views, but I'm so proud of that project. It's my favorite. What's my favorite game that I've LP'd? Probably Earthbound. Like, if I were just strictly thinking my favorite game, Earthbound. Because that game's just awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that I got a little peeved at was the fact that the difficulty spiked in every new area, and I was just like, oh god, this is hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Otherwise, there's nothing wrong with that game. It's fantastic. It evoked emotions in me that I just can't. Favorite game, that's what it was. Thank you, Cody, for that question. Those two questions. You're awesome. Next question comes from Mages Rule 64. And their question is, who is your favorite and least favorite character from Final Fantasy IX? Ooh. You know, I had a hard time thinking about this on my first take of this, but now I know. My least favorite is Johann. I am really can't think of the name of the actual character, but I named him Johann. Amarant, the flaming Johann. Yeah, he just felt like an extra character tacked on. He had no development, he was just there. He was just like, hey, what's up? I got orange hair, dreads, how you doing? He had no development, he just was always a jerk, and he stayed being a jerk at the end. There you go. Flat character, dumb. He's a dumb guy. Favorite is Vivi, of course, Oliver. He had the most character development I have ever seen in any kind of video game ever. It was glorious. He started out as this small, scared, naive child, and in the end he became this very wise and stoic character that left behind a legacy. He was the only one that didn't make it to the very, very end of the game, and he left behind this this wise and glorious legacy. So to go from being a small naive child to something like that is just absolutely awesome. And not even just the, oh, that's awesome. I mean, literally, the meaning of the word awesome, that is what this is. BB, you are so cool. Hands down. There you go. Thank you for your question. Next question is Snarbing. I'm gonna assume that the T is silent, so Narbing. Do you have any tips for any aspiring Let's Players? Okay. I answered this question a little bit ago, but I'll kind of delve into a different topic for advice. Away from the monetary thing. Some advice that I would give is to really stick to who you are. Like, you don't want to be fake for people, because if you're fake for people, people will know. People will know, and they'll just be like, okay, well, I can't connect with that. And finding out kind of who you are will then kind of manifest itself in the kind of style of LPs that you do. I really like sharing with other people and kind of reminiscing about stories and just really awesome events in life. I like doing that. So my style is a little bit more vloggy. Say you are fantastic at video games. You are very meticulous in the way you do things, or something like that. You might be better suited for very technical walkthrough advice type of LPs. Say you're just the funniest man alive. Say you're like, I don't know, Kevin James. I'm just kidding. Oh, Kevin James is watching this video. Yeah, I'm sure he is. Say you really like to make people laugh. Maybe you have a more comedic style of LP. You know, your style that you come up with is gonna should reflect on who you personally are. And if it doesn't, then it's just kind of fake and it'll fall apart. People will know. Also, I'd like to add that don't be afraid. Now, don't take this like, oh, go up to people and tell them, hey, watch my videos, because that's not the point. People are gonna come. You just do what you love to do, and people will come. That's the only way. That's the only way to get a good, rich, true audience. Sub for sub, all that crap. Don't rely on that. Don't rely on like, hey, can you watch my videos? Because they're not gonna watch your videos if you do that. Just be friendly. Make your priority to meet people that share your interests, share your love of video games. Make that your priority. And if you're trying to build an audience, that's the best way that I have realized. How to do that. Do a lot of collaborative stuff. I mean, make sure that it's like a group. It's like a group idea. Don't come up to some random stranger and be like, "Oh, I want to do collaborative stuff because you have 1,000 subscribers and I have like 10, so it's gonna help me." Don't do that. People will know if you're trying to use them to gain an audience, and they won't take kindly to it. So don't do that. Just do it with the priority of just meeting new people and meeting interesting people from all around the world that you never would have known. I have really great friends from Canada, Ireland, England, a new one from Finland. And I never would have known them if it weren't for video games. So, I mean, gaining an audience is cool. Meeting new people is the best. So, yeah. Just make that your priority. And let gaining subscribers and whatever take a backseat. Because that's not the important part. It's doing what you love. Okay, so thanks for your question. What's the next question? What part... Oh, this is asked by Liquid Rage Gamer. And he says, what part of a game is the most important for you to enjoy it? Like graphics, music, gameplay, story, etc. My most important thing in video gaming and games in general is the story. I want to be told a very interesting, awesome story with fantastic characters, and just, I love hearing stories. That's my personal preference. Second is gameplay. Because if it's a fantastic story and the gameplay is repetitive, boring, and stupid, I don't like it, then I'm not gonna. Sorry, but your awesome story is gonna look a little bit not so great anymore. Alternatively, if you have a little bit of a weak story but your gameplay's awesome, that's cool too. That's why gameplay is still really up there. Because like the game that I want to LP after Twilight Princess has kind of a weak story, but the gameplay is so fun. So, yeah. After that would be music, because music is a direct tie to the story that you're trying to tell. It sets the mood, it sets the story, and if someone can make fantastic music that can really intrigue and immerse a player into this world that you've created, and it can make the player feel the emotions that you want them to feel, that is beautiful, and it just all ties into story. Music, fantastic. Alright, and then graphics. You don't need high quality fancy schmancy graphics to have a good game. You can have high quality fancy schmancy graphics and have a good game. You can also have high fancy schmancy graphics and have a bad game. So it's not the end all be all. Be quite honest, the thing about graphics is that your visuals have to be engrossing. It has to tie, as the same way with the music, it has to tie in with the theme, the tone of the game, and it has to help in immersing the player in this world that you've created. You can have 16-bit. I'm looking at you, Chrono Trigger. You can have 16-bit graphics, and the visuals can still engross you. Like when I first encountered the Kingdom of Zel, this is 16-bit graphics, and I was blown away because of my imagination. Because they set up the palette for my imagination with the fantastic artwork, the fantastic music, and the climax in the storytelling. So you don't need super fancy graphics. You just need visuals that intrigue, immerse, and apply to the story as a whole for it to be effective. In my opinion, that's just me. Thank you for your question, the Liquid Rage Gamer. You are fantastic. Don't stop being awesome. No, don't forget to be awesome. TFTBA. The Lizard 1987 asks, if you can make a video game, what kind of video game would you make? RPG, fighting game, what kind of characters, tones would you apply? I would probably make an RPG. Probably make an RPG because I love stories. I just told you guys, story, boom, big on story. RPGs are the perfect media, I guess, for storytelling as far as games are concerned. Unless your name is Shadow of the Colossus, then you just win at everything. Holla, Shadow of the Colossus! You just take the Nobel Peace Prize of gaming. And the other thing is, you don't have to focus too much on gameplay. You can take that classic RPG menu style kind of gameplay, but just add a little twerk. If you're just doing traditional menu gameplay, you better spice it up with something, because otherwise you're just playing Pokemon. No one can do Pokemon as well as Pokemon. Only person who should be doing Pokemon is Pokemon. And no one can do Final Fantasy. And no one should be doing Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy can't even do Final Fantasy anymore. I'm just saying. Anyway, what kind of tone would it be? What kind of characters would I have? I think I want to tell a story that has more of a serious tone to it. I think a premise that I find intriguing is a clash of generations. Maybe a younger generation kind of realizing the faults of an older generation. You know how when you're a child, you kind of think, like, when you're a little kid, you're like, oh, mom and dad, they're perfect, you know, they don't make mistakes, they're grown-ups. Grown-ups don't make mistakes. Grown-ups aren't bad. Grown-ups don't do those sorts of things. And as you get older, you realize, oh, well, mom was wrong about this. Or, oh, dad did this, and maybe he could have done it a different way, and it would have been better. And you are realizing for yourself there are alternate ways, and your parents are not perfect. Your parents are humans. And as you grow, you begin to kind of get on their same level. I really like that kind of premise, like the younger generation realizing the faults of an older generation. I think that's a cool idea in stories, and I'm gonna sit down and write it right now. Just kidding, I don't know. I hope that answered your question. I don't know. Alright, thank you for your question. And the lovely Crab Stance asks, first of all, I'll preface his question with the cool thing that he imparted some wisdom upon us. He says, despite what my internet alias name might suggest, my favorite animal is not a discipod crustacean, but actually the mantis shrimp, as it can attack so fast it emits its own light for a fraction of a second, and thanks to its 15-cone cells in its eyes, it can see colors we literally cannot imagine. That is a cool, amazing animals fact. Anyone else watch that when they were a kid? That Amazing Animals show with that weird like gecko as the host, and he was like a cartoon gecko, and he was like, man. That was an amazing animal fact. Ooh, my city just died. Anyway. He asks, what is your favorite animal, and what is said animal's most amazing trait? Alright, my animal's probably not as amazing as yours, but for whatever reason, I have some sort of unnatural admiration and love for sloths. I really, really love sloths. They're just so cool. I just enjoy that they can kind of go through life being very chill. Not only that, but I really like the fact that they do everything upside down. They have babies upside down. They have sex upside down. They eat upside down. They sleep upside down. They do everything upside down. And they literally only poop like once every 2 weeks. That's the only thing they don't do upside down. They actually crawl down from their tree. They take a whole day to crawl down from their tree. And they go poop, and then they don't do it again for another fortnight. So, I don't know, that's just really neat. Another cool animal I really like are animals that live for a really long time, like sea turtles or something. Like, I remember reading an article that a pet sea turtle just died, and the pet actually once belonged to, was once the pet of, like, I don't know, someone who died a while ago. He's like a famous historical figure who died quite a while ago, and it's like, geez, your pet like outlives you by like 150 years. Holy crap, man. So anyway, that was a stupid anecdote because I couldn't remember the guy's name. Anyway, that's my answer. Thank you for your question. And then I make a comment, but before that, someone asks, and this someone is Tsukikageno Knight. I apologize for terribly pronouncing your name. He asks, why do some females cover their mouths and nose when excited, shocked, scared, or overwhelmed? I guess I have knowledge of this because I'm a female? Not because... No, I don't have knowledge of this because I'm a female. I have knowledge of this because I've taken sociology classes in college. And my idea of why this might be the case is it is a social construction, and has been a social construction for several decades, for women to be small. Physically, with corsets, with taking up less space by crossing their legs, keeping off of the armrest so someone else can use it. Things like that, just physically taking up less space, a desire to be small. All these clothes that they sell are way small. You're fighting to be thin, this dying to be thin thing. It's just, everything is enforcing the fact that females need to be small. They need to feel insignificant, and they need to not make very much noise. They just need to not be there. And I feel like this plays into it. Something that should be a loud reaction a shocking reaction should be like a huge, ah, oh my gosh. A guy can do that, you know, that's whatever. Females, I feel like, are socially conditioned to be more so act in the way that you described, like a small gasp or, you know, whatever. And I'm saying all this like females rise up and be awesome. It's just it's something that you really can't help because it's such an ingrained social stigma. Even I do it. I've noticed that when I sneeze, when guys sneeze, they're like, "Bleh!" But when I sneeze, I am like the quietest inward sneezer ever. I'm just like, yeah, I just sneezed. Like that's me. And I can't not do it that way. It's just weird. Like, if I even want to try to do that, I literally have to try to do it. I have to be like, stupid like that. So, that's what I think. I got that from Gender and Society class. And who says that you don't learn anything in college? Anyway, thank you for your question. I was actually very excited to answer that one, so I hope I helped to answer your question. Next is Clam-Based, and this person asks, what games are on your LP bucket list? And games, or what games do you have to LP one day? I actually literally have a list of games that I want to LP, in which order that I want to LP them in, and which games I want to pair together, because I always do the two projects at the same time. One blind, one regular. I actually have it written out. I'm not gonna tell you guys. You know I always keep my LP projects a secret, but I will kind of give you a hint at future, like way future projects. So I guess I can let you know about what those are gonna be. As far as blind LPs are concerned, a couple that I really want to do are Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. I've never played that game, but since I LP Paper Mario, I want to do the sequel. Another game that I want to do the sequel of is I totally want to do a blind LP of Chrono Cross. But that's a humongous game, and I want to wait until this whole Final Fantasy thing has worn off on me, because I'm telling you what, I'm still limping from Final Fantasy. That game was huge. So yes, those are two blind LPs I want to do in the future. Some games that I want to do that are not blind that I've already played. Of course, I want to do Zelda games. I'm totally gonna do the HD version of Wind Waker, because come on, Wind Waker is it's like a tie between Wind Waker and Majora's Mask. I don't know, they're both so great. Those are my favorite. Literally, it pains me to pick one. So I played through Wind Waker so many times. I love it. So I will be doing a couple more Zelda games. Metal Gear Solid, gonna be doing the Metal Gear Solid series. That's a fact. Unfortunately, I don't know all the Easter eggs, so it's not going to be one of those informational, like, this is how you get this ending, and this is how you get this title, or whatever. I'm just going to play through it because it's awesome! Metal Gear Solid's awesome! So yeah, those are games that I just totally have to LP one day. And I will. I will, don't you worry. Thank you for your question, Clam-Face. Next one is Nocturnal Alley. You're so cute. Oh my goodness. And she asks, if you played board games when you were little, what's your favorite? There were two that I thought of that I played a lot as a kid. One was Sorry, and I really liked playing that because when I was playing it with my parents and I'd have to send one of my parents' pieces home, or to the home spot, I'd be like, sorry, and I'd send them back, and my dad would be like, oh, hope you choke, or like, whatever. And I just liked games that gave me an opportunity to be an obnoxious small child, so there you go. But my absolute favorite game that I played when I was a kid, and I don't really know why because there's not much to it, is Trouble. You know, that game where you have the 4 colored pieces and you're going around and you pop the little bubble on the inside that has the dice in it and it goes like blah, blah, blah. That. I loved that game. I don't know why. I got really frustrated with it too. Like every single time I played it, I got really frustrated because I'm really competitive. I think it was the theme song. It's fun getting into trouble. I really think that's what it was. Anyway, those are the ones I loved playing when I was a kid. Thanks for your question. Next one is from White House SVC 729, and this person says, are you a Whovian? If so, who's your favorite doctor and who is your favorite companion? And was it okay to ask 2 questions right there? That was 3 questions, sir. You lose. Good day, sir. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not a Whovian. I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but I don't really like Doctor Who. My cousin is a huge Whovian, and she tried to get me into it, and I was just like, ugh, this is dumb. I'd rather watch Star Trek. So, she loves Doctor Who. I think her favorites are either 9 or 11? I don't know. It's one of those. So no, sorry, I don't like Doctor Who. Sorry, don't hurt me. Thanks for your question, though. Next is Ecophonin! And he asks, do you read books often? And if you do, what genres do you enjoy? I don't read as many books as I used to before I started LPing, that's for sure. In fact, reading actually used to be my main hobby before I started doing Let's Plays. Gaming was a hobby too, but it was definitely not as prevalent as reading was. My favorite genre, I guess, I don't know, there are several subgenres within the genre, but I really like reading the classics. When I was in like the 8th grade, I read Catcher in the Rye, and it wasn't assigned, and I thought I was like the bee's knees. I was like, whoa, I'm reading The Catcher in the Rye, and it wasn't assigned reading, and I'm so cool. And I read it, and it's really good. And I was like, whoa, if classics are really this good, they're really not as bad as everyone's making them out to be. So I decided that I would gather them all up and read them for myself. Because if they're this timeless, if they've stood the test of time, then they gotta be great. And for the most part, I've realized that yes, they are pretty great, actually. There's a few that are not. I am looking at you, The Awakening, and I'm looking at you, The Red Badge of Courage. You guys can just shuffle on out of here. I don't like you. I don't like you at all. But anyway, yeah, the classics. Love the classics. So yeah. The author that I've read the most of is Kurt Vonnegut. He wrote such things as Slaughterhouse-Five, Sirens of Titan, Cat's Cradle, Welcome to the Monkey House. I also really like Ray Bradbury. He did things like Fahrenheit 451, The Martian Chronicles, Something Wicked This Way Comes. So yeah, he did some really great stuff. Anyway, that's what I like to read, and if you guys follow me on Twitter, you realize that my favorite book of all time is Frankenstein! Ugh, Frankenstein. Alright. Thank you for your question, Necrophone. Next one is Teresha? And this person asks, do you ever consider continuing Mother 3? I guess I will go ahead and let the cat out of the bag and say, yes, I will finish Mother 3. Mostly for the fact that I just cannot stand having an incomplete project on my channel. I'm sorry I stopped it, but I had to. People were... It had such a cult following that people were going to the lengths of just saying that, like, no, you're not playing the game right. You're not experiencing it right. How can you experience something for the first time wrong? I may not have experienced it the way you did. I may have missed something that someone who's played the game several times would know about. But how can someone experience something for the first time incorrectly? And that just really upset me and made me not want to play the game anymore, and recording it was a chore. On top of that, I lost all my save data, and I thought to myself, Amanda, you don't want to play this game. Hands down, you just don't feel like playing. I don't want to play this game and play it all the way up to the point to where I saved, or to where I left off. I just don't want to do it. So I just canceled. I will get back to it eventually, though, but I'm going to record it all in advance and then post it because I don't want to deal with fanboys going all crazy because I'm not experiencing the game the way I should be. Whatever. Just whatever. Thank you for your question if I wasn't being a jerk. And look forward to that in the very distant future. Alright, thanks. Next question is by RedDursty939. He's been a loyal commenter for quite a while, and he's pretty awesome. And he says, sorry, I just have to. What countries have you visited, and what is your favorite flavor of pudding? I don't really like pudding that much, but if I had to say something, it would be that chocolate pudding with that little white stripe in the middle. That's, you know, that vanilla stripe. I like that pudding. What countries have I visited? I've visited Canada, England, France, and Nicaragua. Thanks for your question, sir. I see what you did there. Alright, next one. Oddster Dude asks, how did you and Devin meet, and will you do more LPs together? If you guys don't know, Devin is my best friend, whose name is spelled with an I. Just thought I'd let you know. It's okay, she gets the misspellings all the time, so don't worry about it. Just let you know. We're doing an LP together currently. It's the Twilight Princess LP, if you've seen it in the sub box or whatever, or the non-existent sub box. We're doing that LP together, and it is mountains of fun. We met in high school. We met in the 10th grade, and we rode the bus together. And apparently, I realized this about a year ago. She told me that when she first met me, she thought I was a jerk, and she didn't like me. And then she actually got to know me. We had a lot in common. And then we hit it off. And it was pretty much due to Billy Joel. Billy Joel started our friendship. And then we were friends ever since. And will we do any more projects together? If I decide to LP Bioshock, then she'll definitely be on board for that, because for whatever reason, she loves that game. I mean, it's a good game, but she loves that game. She only recently has been introduced to video games through me, actually, so she hasn't played very many games yet, so I pretty much would only do projects with her of games that she is familiar with and she knows really well. Because I feel like that's how she would be most comfortable in doing projects together. So yeah. Maybe not an entire project, but she'll probably be on board with some guest commentary in the future. So yeah. That's my question. That's my answer to your question, excuse me. Next question. Thank you for your question, by the way. Next question by Ufregun64. He asks, what made you decide to LP? What were you thinking? What were you thinking before you started? And what advice would you give? I already talked about the advice I would give. Really, just be true to yourself. Be friendly. Always be super nice. Seriously, there's no reason to be mean to anyone. If you are always nice, then no one can hate you. And that's a really great way to meet new people. It's just be nice. What was I thinking? Actually, what I was thinking when I very first started is that I actually wasn't going to be an LPer. I was actually pretending to be a Let's Player. I just started recording videos, and I had no intention of uploading them at all. I just decided to upload videos and be like, I'm pretending to be a Let's Player. This is what it would be like. Oh, this is fun. And then I had like 20 videos of Chrono Trigger already recorded, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do with all these videos? I already have them. Might as well throw them up on a YouTube channel and just continue. Like if you've seen my Chrono Trigger LP, or if you want to go back and look, the first several episodes of Chrono Trigger, you notice that I never mentioned my YouTube name. It's because Splittable Infinitive didn't exist. I didn't have a YouTube channel at that point. So yeah, I was just playing pretend, and then I realized, wow, I put a lot of effort into this. I should probably let people look at it. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. Crazy me. Thank you for your question. Yeah. Next is the Real Kitsune! And the Real Kitsune asks, Split, you're someone who's done a lot of blind LPs on your channel. If there was someone in similar shoes to yours who hasn't played a lot of older games and they were considering possibly starting mostly blind LP channel, this is a very specific question. Is there any kind of advice, tips, anecdotes that you would like to pass down to that person? First of all, I want to say, as far as picking a blind LP to do, picking a game to do a blind LP of, make sure that you figure out which genres that you really like. Like I said, I really like RPGs and things like that. Things that can tell a really good story. And then do some research on what are the pinnacle games in that genre. Like, the ones that have the best reviews, have a super devoted cult following. And I would also stick with older games, because if you LP a brand new game completely blind and there's no connection that the audience can have with this, because you don't know what it is, they don't know what it is, they don't have a bond, they don't have that bond. And that's the really special thing about LPing. LPing a game blind, that is. No one can have that first time experience ever again. Once you've experienced something for the first time and you love it, you can't go back and experience it again. And that's such a great feeling too, experiencing something for the first time that is just amazing. You can't have that again. The closest you can get is watching someone else experience something that you love for the first time. And that's what I think blind LPs are all about. The connection that the audience has to the story, to the characters, to the memories that they've had in their lives that come along with this game, that's all invested in this blind LP that you're doing. And you're experiencing, and they can share your experience, your brand new experience. And it's almost as if they're experiencing it for the first time again. And I think that's the magic of a blind LP, of a really loved game. It gives the audience a little bit something special. Something as close to that first time experience as they can get again. So that's why I do blind LPs. I've found that it's really, really rewarding. So yes, there you go. That's my take on blind LPs. Thank you for your question, Real Kitsune. You're awesome. Next question is by Dario8676, and he didn't follow the rules. He asked like 3 different questions that don't even relate to each other. So I'm just gonna answer one. Follow the rules next time, buddy. And he asks, what do you miss the most about your childhood? Long story short, I miss being responsible for like nothing. Like when you're an adult, you have so much responsibility on your hands and you're expected to do so much, and it's just like, oh my god, it's really overwhelming. But when you're a kid, when you're like 5 years old, the most you're responsible for is like not pooping yourself and not running out in the middle of the street. And you know, that does come with the whole you have to really follow your parents, what your parents say and things like that, and maybe you can only get a new video game once a year, but I would take that over so much overwhelming. Ugh. So yeah, that's what I totally miss, not having so much responsibility. Anyway, Maheyo, I can never pronounce your name, and I don't know why, because you're one of my favorite followers or subscribers or whatever. He asks, I'm asking this because of how I caught your numerous Beatles references. Let's say all the Beatles were alive, and they were okay to come together, get it, come together, one last time for an epic reunion concert. And let's assume it's one concert and not a tour of concerts. What would be the songs you would personally choose to be on their concert set list? And let's say the concert is realistically long or of reasonable length. I guess that would be like 3 hours? It's a tough one. I am more of a fan of the later Beatles, Mystery Tour and later. Anything on the Let It Be album. Anything on the Abbey Road album. Those are a-okay. They could literally play those entire, and those discs are all kind of, especially Abbey Road, all the songs are kind of tied together anyway. So if you just played Abbey Road album from start to finish with no breaks or anything in between, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's what I want. Yeah, that's totally what I would want, actually. You know, just to play their albums from start to finish, like in chronological order, starting from maybe the White Album or something. I don't know. That's what I want. That's what I would do. Except there's a couple of songs in there that I don't like. Like I don't like there's one song I don't really like Piggies from the White Album. That's a weird one. Ringo wrote some weird songs. But yeah, later Beatles music, fantastic. I know I didn't answer specifically, but I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. So yeah. Rune-chan asks, a very quick one. Klingons or Chewbacca? Klingons. Okay. Serious question. Are you a history buff? And my answer is not really. I enjoy learning about history, but I don't go out of my way to learn about it. So that I am interested in history, but I wouldn't call myself a buff because I don't really go out of my way to look for history things. So no, not really. So thank you for your question. Red Bomber Dude asks, "Hey Amanda, you watch Game Theory too?" Bunch of question marks. The thing is, it's not just a theory. It's game theory. Yes, I watch Game Theory. MatPat channel is awesome. I enjoy like. Oh, I really love Game Theory. I really love Gaijin Guma. I guess that would be Game Exchange, wouldn't it? This show is Game Exchange. I love Game Exchange. Yes, I love it. That's my answer. And that's all the questions. And this is the end of the video. Wow, I timed that pretty well. I want to thank all you guys for asking all these cool questions. Leave more questions in the comments of this video. The rules are in the very first video, so go back and watch that if you need a little refresher on the rules. And be prepared for next Saturday's video of question answering. You guys have a beautiful day. And I'll see you guys next time on Let's Q&A from Dust. Bye!
Di pula uni.